Hello and welcome back to History Buffs or Bluffs. We are your hosts. My name is Kyle.
And I'm Sydney.
We are married and I'm a writer.
And I love to read, especially Kyle's books.
I'm also a history buff.
And I am not, as you all have gathered these last 8 episodes.
Our podcast is a story-driven topic on an event that may
or may not
have happened in history. I'm going to tell you a tale that will knock your socks and maybe your pants off. And at the end of the episode...
You want to take my pants off?
I'm going to give Sid a chance to be a history buff or call my bluff.
Maybe we should redo that because that's inappropriate.
No, it's fine. It pertains.
Okay. And we want you all to play along as well. So while you're listening, don't Google anything and see if you can guess it right.
Nothing about my pants.
No.
Well, Sid, how you doing? It's been a while since I've seen you. Since I put Sutton down.
Like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
It's been a rough week.
Mm-hmm.
Our poor dog Zoe has a tumor. It is a tumor.
A mast cell tumor.
Yeah, so it's on her chest. And we had to get it taken care of with this weird medicine injection thing. And
Stelfonta treatment.
Yeah.
For people who
and
want to know.
It makes her body attack the tumor, and then it like disintegrates it, and then it causes an open wound. And currently we're at the phase where it's like disintegrating.
Oozing.
And it's oozing discharge. And we did not have a cone for her last night, and she was up all night trying to lick at it, which meant I was up all night telling her not to lick at it. And I'm just so tired.
Yeah, she's got the cone now.
And the night before that, Sutton was up from 9 until 1 a.m.
Till 1. Mm-hmm.
And then the night before that, there was something that I just couldn't sleep. So
just the state of the world.
3 nights in a row, I have not slept at all. I'm exhausted. And I really wanted to take a nap right now while the kids are napping, but Kyle made me do this podcast instead.
I did not. I gave you the option. You said you wanted to.
No, you didn't.
I did.
I said, I want to take a nap today. And you said, sorry, it's not in our budget. Whatever that means.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe next round.
All right. So get to the point. What is it? What's our topic? And also, I'm sorry about how angry I was in our last episode. There's just a lot going on in the world right now.
Do you want to give... Yeah.
I just have a lot of rage.
Yeah. A lot of things to be ragey about.
Yeah. So I'll try to be not as angry this episode.
Well, I don't think this
as
one...
As long as there's no sexism.
I don't think this one will make you angry.
Will it make me sad?
No, I think this... Well... A little sad at the beginning, but this is a funny episode. I think you'll enjoy it.
All right.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's our topic?
I'm going to tell you about the naked voters of Bleeding, Kansas. When people think of the Civil War, they probably only think of the battles that our countrymen endured. And, of course, the reason for the war, slavery.
I posted a reel about this the other day.
Dang it, I should have started it with that.
Oh, my God.
Let me redo it. Today's topic. Slavery.
Redo it.
That was the whole point. I was drinking. I was doing the reel.
Oh.
That's funny.
Anyways, just keep going.
Anyways, slavery was a dividing issue in our country for a very long time. Since its inception, actually. There were many founding fathers who opposed and were often outspoken about slavery. They even wanted to abolish it as part of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. They viewed it as morally repugnant and a contradiction of the idea of liberty that they fought for. However, due to politics and the need to have all of the colonies unified against the British, the abolishment of slavery had to be put on hold.
So dumb.
While we can look back at it today and see and understand the evil of it, at the time, and throughout human history actually, slavery was common and universally accepted. In ancient history, losers of battles were often taken as slaves. In British America, you could sign up for indentured servitude, signing a contract to be someone's slave for a few years.
Why would you want to do that?
These were often immigrants, and it was how they gained their citizenship, usually.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Even after we gained independence from Britain, this was a thing.
The more I learn about history, the worse
You feel?
I feel about humanity.
Because you realize that we've always been
Terrible. And we're still terrible.
Yeah, that was my next point. I'd say we can't claim to be standing on moral high ground when it comes to slavery, because it's still going on today in many parts of the world.
It is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where?
A lot of places. You want to get into all of it?
No.
Okay. Yes, slavery was a common practice, but as I said, many saw and spoke out against the evil and brutality of it. And leading up to the Civil War, it was probably the most divisive topic in our nation's history. And that didn't just start, like I said, before the Civil War. The antebellum era spanned roughly 50 years, and during this time, there was disagreement and tension that grew and grew, boiling over until the war finally erupted.
What time period was this?
18th century. 18th and 19th century.
Oh.
Mm. I'm just getting into it, but right now we're in the 18th century. At the end of the 18th century, slavery was actually declining in America. Northern states were outlawing it individually, and southern states didn't have a crop that was desirable enough to make slavery financially viable. Until Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. In 1793, Eli Whitney, an American farm laborer and school teacher at the time, came up with the idea after talking to some businessmen, some slave owners, who were complaining about the grueling process of removing the seeds from cotton.
They were complaining about it?
Now, yeah,
they were complaining about it? Oh, my God.
Yeah, they were not the ones who had to remove the seeds, obviously. They had slaves do it for them. But
you said I wouldn't be angry in this episode.
I said you would be sad. It's angry too, yeah. At the beginning. But this is just... So they weren't the ones who were doing it, but it was time consuming, and these men looked at their slaves as an investment. It wasn't financially beneficial to buy all of these people and then have them picking seeds from the cotton all day.
Oh, wow.
And that's what the cotton gin did.
So sorry for them.
Eli Whitney invented it actually in a hope to get rid of the need for people to do the work.
Okay.
So he was not pro-slavery. Which it did. A single cotton gin could generate nearly 55 pounds of clean, de-seeded cotton every day.
Nice. Good job, Eli.
Yeah, that was good. And it was this was huge, and demand for the cotton gins blew up in the South. An unfortunate side effect of that was the demand for hands to pick the cotton. And as a result, something Eli Whitney was hoping to get rid of, slavery grew more than it was prior to that.
What?
Yeah, because they still needed to collect the cotton to be put into the cotton gins. So that's where the slavery was, in the picking. And other things like brick making, like in a certain book, if you remember.
A certain book, The Three Little Pigs. Built a house out of bricks.
Oh, in my Silveridge book.
He made bricks?
Wow.
I don't remember
You don't
that.
even remember it. Whose backstory involved slavery?
Ray.
There you go.
Sorry, I didn't remember.
Yeah. Doing a lot of good for my books.
Forgot about Ray.
That's Shadows over Silver Ridge. Book 2 of my Silver Ridge series. It's really good, despite what Sid just...
It is good. I'm running on like 2 hours a night of sleep. I don't remember a lot right now.
Okay. Slavery was suddenly very profitable, and the industry boomed in the South.
Gosh dang it.
Now, the North was abolishing slavery, but they did have an industrial boom of their own. Textile factories and large manufacturing plants were in abundance, and they purchased their cotton from the South. So they were feeding the system of slavery that they were opposing. Yeah.
Womp womp.
Womp. And there were still slaves in some northern states during this time, but they were slowly either abolishing slavery or switching over to low-wage immigrant work. A lot of Europeans were emigrating to the U.S., and they quickly took over the workforce. And this proved to be more beneficial and more profitable work, causing the industrial-focused life of the North to grow more than the slavery-focused South. Imagine that. If you actually pay your workers, they'd be more driven to succeed.
Oh, interesting.
Rather than slaves that were forced to work.
Wow. What an idea. People are so stupid. And evil.
And as the country expanded westward, the desire to continue each type of societal rule. I need to stop saying continue. And
you just need to say things correctly.
You
need to figure out how to pronounce your I's and your E's.
Continue. Is that better?
No. Continue.
And as the country expanded westward, the desire to continue each type of societal rule, each way of life, spread westward as well. Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Pro-slavery and anti-slavery states popped up as territories were won over from occupying native tribes, and tension was rippling along the center of the nation. A lot of this grew into violent confrontations, and many of those took place in the Kansas Territory. So much that the time and area were known as Bleeding Kansas. Bleeding Kansas was a brutal time in history. It took place between 1854 and 1861, and is often described as the precursor of the American Civil War. Now, this wasn't a war or battle, but more like political unrest and violence. And it all centered on whether the state would become pro-slavery or a free state one. Years of arguing, electoral fraud, raids and riots, and eventually murders occurred all over the Kansas Territory.
This sounds like right now. But we can cut that.
It's recorded that there were anywhere between 50 to 200 political killings during this time.
Yikes. Who was president?
I don't remember off the top of my head. Don't want to look it up.
I thought you were a history buff.
Oh my gosh. Where's my phone? Oh,
Down there.
I can't remember every little detail.
Maybe you should.
Maybe I should. Franklin Pierce. I believe he was pro-slavery.
F him. You can cut that.
Now, although there were a lot of violent and bloody confrontations at the time, we are not talking about one of those. Because not all of the conflicts were violent. Many were peaceful. A majority of the people moving west at the time were looking for a peaceful life. They wanted to find a plot of land to call their own, set up a farm, grow their family, and just live. The problem was that half the people moving out west believed a peaceful life meant continuing to have the right to own people, to purchase men, women, and children, and to have them work for you.
Children were slaves?
Mm-hmm. They were generational slaves.
That's really, really depressing.
Yeah.
I'm depressed.
We're going to get into not depression. The U.S. Senate was divided over the issue, and the 2 senators that would be added when Kansas became a state would tip the balance to one side of the slavery issue. Due to the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, which called for popular sovereignty to decide the issue, the power wasn't with Congress, but with the territory's settlers to vote on how the state would be. Now, Missouri was already a slave state and had been for decades, And since the decision of Kansas and Nebraska would be decided by the settlers in the region, many pro-slavery Missourians flooded into Kansas, claiming to be settlers, in a hope to flood the votes. But it wasn't all fraudulent settlers. There were pro-slavers and free staters who actively moved into the territory, to not only set up a new life for themselves, but to also hopefully spread their ideals of how the state should run. As I said, there were years of election fraud and violence, but there were people who were still using their voices rather than fists.
Hey, that's good.
It is good.
That's a win.
And some of them were so determined to have their voices heard and their votes counted that they would do so without clothes on.
This is fake. Nobody does that naked.
In 1858, after years of illegal voting, fighting, and uncertainty on the outcome of the state, a vote for the state's constitution was underway. This was called the Lecompton Constitution, which was a pro-slavery draft. It overwhelmingly supported slavery, including provisions to protect it in the entire state of Kansas, and to exclude free black people from even living in the state. It included wording that would prevent enslaved people from emancipation without their enslavers' consent. This version of the Constitution was approved the year prior from a rigged election by pro-slavers. This second vote was basically going to make it law of the land, and in one day, the polling station would be open for all settlers to vote. In Franklin County, a group of free staters couldn't stand back and allow their state to become a slave state. They had just moved out this way, but they expanded an America that they believed was for every man and woman, regardless of skin color.
That's what it should be.
That's what it should be.
Unfortunately, that's not what it is, or what it has been, or what it ever was. Right?
We're moving on. 3 men gathered local men together to discuss it. Warren Wirt Henry Lawrence, Reuben Hackett.
Warren what?
Warren Wirt Henry Lawrence.
Oh, those are 2 people.
No.
What?
His full name is Warren Wirt Henry Lawrence.
Wirt?
Wirt.
He has 2 middle names?
Yeah. Or maybe 2 first names. Or 3 last names. Warren Wirt Henry Lawrence, Reuben Hackett, and John C. Boblet.
Boblet?
Boblet.
Your names that you make up.
I don't make these up. This is all history.
I hate that I can't tell still.
The settlers in Franklin County were free staters. They believed every man had the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, like most of the Founding Fathers originally wanted. Warren, Reuben, and John C. got the men together and told them of the vote that would be taking place the next day. While the others agreed with them that they didn't want to live in a slave state, the vote for the Constitution was overwhelmingly in support of it. There was no way their votes would sway the election. Warren stared each one of the 43 men in attendance in the eyes, and he said, even one vote could change the fate of their state.
What's the point of doing this naked?
We're going to get to it. Warren, Reuben, and John C. won over the others, and they decided that they needed to vote tomorrow. They were determined to make their voices heard. The only problem was that the polling station was set in a log cabin as far west as it could possibly be for that county.
What the heck? The corruption. Goodness gracious.
This was done deliberately by pro-slavers who were running
sure.
the polling station.
Ridiculous.
It would be a long walk for them, and there would be 4 streams that they would have to cross. This normally wouldn't be a problem, but there had been weeks of heavy rain in the area, and every single one of the streams were deeper and moving faster than normal. These were poor farmers. They didn't know how to swim. Half of them didn't even own a horse. But they agreed as a whole that their votes mattered. They wouldn't allow their state to become something they couldn't live with. They couldn't allow their country to fall further down the side of slavery. They informed their wives and their parents, and then the 43 free staters began walking west to cast their vote.
Wow.
Now, I couldn't find exactly how far the men walked, but Franklin County is 577 square miles in size.
Some of us don't even send in our mail-in ballots. That's how lazy we are as people.
People ain't walking to
Look
the
at these
station
guys.
anymore. I know.
They're walking. Just like
I bet-
Irina. Irina Rupina.
Irina. And like I said, the polling station was placed as far west as it could possibly be. So it's possible the men walked the entire length of Franklin County.
Wow.
And in a straight line that could be about 30 miles.
That's determination.
I know. It's not quite the Miana Trail,
Not quite.
but it's still a lot to walk in one day. And remember, there were 4 flooded, fast-moving streams that they would have to cross. The last one being the Ottawa Creek, which was the largest of the 4. The men had their work cut out for them, but they grabbed their sacks, climbed aboard their horses, if they had one, and set out west. The first 3 streams, like I said, were smaller than the last, and each man was able to cross mostly unfazed. They had wet boots, but that wouldn't stop them, not if voting meant they could keep their state free of the evils of slavery. The men kept their spirits up, singing songs or telling tales to one another. It was the only way to get each man to take the next step after grueling step. I imagine blisters were forming on their calloused feet, and this would undoubtedly be a restless trip, as they would have to turn right back around and come back to continue work on their farms. But they believed in their hearts that they were doing the right thing. They were on the right side of history in their opinions, and would walk any distance, cross any stream, to make a difference in their soon-to-be state. However, their last body of water to cross would be the Ottawa Creek. As I said, it was much larger than the first 3 streams, and it also had grown to flood levels from the amount of rain the area had received.
Oh no.
Warren,
Is someone gonna die? Are multiple people gonna die?
we'll see.
Can't handle more death.
Warren, Reuben, and John C. stopped at the edge of the creek, watching the rushing, splashing water ripple by their feet. They looked at each other, then glanced back at some of the younger men, the ones who had no horses and couldn't swim. They had to be careful. This could absolutely end in disaster for them. But remember, these were farmers. They had to often think on their feet to find solutions to problems. They gathered all the rope and reins from their horses, tying them together and looping them through the horses' saddles. They only had 17 horses, and tying them together was a big risk. If one horse went down, they'd all fall. The water was chest height in some areas, and the unknown current could definitely pull a horse, let alone a full-grown man, downstream. The 3 men looked at each other, then Warren announced that he would go first. He stripped down to his boots and hat, tucking his shirt underneath it, and tied the rope around his waist. That was also a risk, but they had no other choice. He began wading out into the Ottawa Creek. Reuben and John C. held the other end of the rope tightly. Warren walked as quickly as caution would allow, carefully finding his footing between loose stones and rushing waters, but he gritted his teeth and moved onward.
How high was it on them?
Depending on area in the stream, but either between chest and waist height. What?
I don't know. I don't know about this.
The day was nearly half gone, and if they didn't make it past this creek, they'd never make it to the polling station in time. So Warren dug his boots in with each step, eventually crossing the deep rushing creek. He climbed up onto the edge, quickly tying the rope to a nearby tree trunk. Then he waved across at the small figures on the other side. He breathed heavily as the 42 other men across also stripped down to just their boots and hats. They grabbed a hold of the rope and the horses and began wading across. It was a slow process, and Warren kept looking at the sun that was beginning its slow descent. But the farmers were great with the horses, keeping them calm as they crossed the body of water.
How wide was this?
I don't know exactly. I couldn't find it, like how wide the stream was or the creek was.
Oh.
But it was significantly wider than normal because of all the rain. And you could see it from the map.
Which map? The one in your head?
One by one, each man and horse made it across the creek. So no deaths.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's not like a never-ending story.
That's true. It's not like that. The reason the men disrobed before crossing was simply to keep themselves as light as possible.
That'd be freezing.
Yeah. But they didn't want the wet clothes to weigh them down in the water. And they didn't have time to wait for their clothes to dry if they did wear them. The polling station would close soon, and they still had quite a bit of a walk to make. So they put their shirts on and continued the walk to the polling station, completely naked from the waist down.
Ew. There were children?
What?
Were there children with them?
No. It's just...
But surely they'll see children on their trek.
Well, this was the 1800s, so I don't think children would care.
Ew. 1800s? Yeah, I feel like.
No. Those
This
kids,
isn't like caveman days.
those kids were probably working. There was no child labor laws then.
Oh.
I imagine it was quite the sight at the polling station. The men were probably standing there, watching the sun drop slowly, waiting to close up and begin tallying the votes. And then they began to hear a commotion down the street. They'd look up, seeing a group of men walking their way. They wore hats and shirts, but were pale white from the waist down. They sang loudly, walking proudly all the way up to the polling station, demanding to place their votes. Maybe the men at the polling station wanted to protest, but there technically was no law against voting in the nude.
Is there now? After this?
You can try going to a polling... You can try going anywhere nude. Yeah, you cannot. I'm sure it was even more disheartening for the pro-slavers to see that every single one of these men were free staters, proudly voting against the Lecompton Constitution. As the polling station closed and the votes were tallied, the naked voters began walking back to where they left their clothes. They passed a German woman who was sweeping on her front porch. She stared at the nearly stark naked men. I'm sure she did her best to keep her eyes up. Or maybe not.
Ew. This story is not appropriate. Our podcast is supposed to be clean.
We'll mark this one explicit. However, she was kind and clearly did not require guests to dress for dinner. She offered the men a place to eat and fed them as they were.
Surely she had something to cover them up with.
They had their shirts.
I know, but the bottom parts.
The Free Staters The Free Staters of Franklin County believed in an America without slavery, where every man was free and should be free to choose where to live without prejudice. And because of that belief, they were enough to turn the tide for the votes in Franklin County. That, in turn, was able to gain the advantage for the Free Staters, and the Lecompton Constitution was defeated. After an investigation, the fraudulent votes that initially passed that constitution were discovered, and additional elections and votes eventually passed, and Kansas became the 34th state in 1861, gaining an advantage for the Free Staters right before the start of the American Civil War. The Civil War was quite possibly unavoidable, and it still holds the record for the most American lives lost in the country's history.
I thought World War II was most lives lost.
That was most lives lost total, like globally.
Oh, this is just
But this
American.
is just American lives lost. It's between 620,000 to 750,000, since it was both sides. But in the days leading up to it, there were peaceful attempts to lead the country in the right direction. Not everyone was looking for a fight. Some were simply trying to make their voices heard and their manhood seen.
Oh, God. Ew. The story's giving me the creeps.
The naked voters of Bleeding, Kansas are a small part of the history of this great nation, and proof that change doesn't need to be big. Sometimes it could be...
Well, they're probably pretty cold.
It's probably the temperature of the water. Sometimes it could be a small gesture, one that might not even be remembered. But Sydney, you have to decide. Was this a history buff or bluff?
I kept going back and forth on this one.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it sounded very true. But then, when you're talking about the stream crossings, it sounded like your stories. But then towards the end, it sounded true again.
2 out of 3.
Is this a buff? That the men were in the buff?
Is that final answer?
No, I'm not. I don't know
okay,
yet. I don't know
okay,
yet. I don't know
okay.
yet. I don't know yet. I feel like it's pretty absurd. In the last few that were really absurd that I guessed incorrectly, I said they were bluffs. And you were trying to trick me, and you did trick me because they were real. I can't figure you out. Oh, no.
TikTok.
I can't decide. And I don't want to get another one wrong. I'm guessing this was real.
Final answer. Buff in the bluff. You're right.
Yes! Finally! Finally! I did not want to get that one wrong.
I thought you were going to.
I was going to guess that it was made up.
Really?
Yes. But then I thought about the molasses flood and the whiskey fire and how crazy those stories
Spoilers.
were. And then I got them wrong. So. If they haven't listened by now, they might not be listening.
That's true. Don't start with this episode. Good job.
So the whole thing was true, or did you add dramatic effect storytelling?
So
because while you were talking about the creek crossings, it sounded very like storytelling.
the creek may have been a little exaggerated. You were actually right. You caught me on that. It's true that they stripped down to their boots and hats, but I couldn't find how deep the water was, how fast it was going.
I asked you questions and you didn't know.
Or even how wide the stream was.
Yeah, you didn't know. That's why I thought you were making this up.
There wasn't any information on that. But they did do that. They did cross 4 streams to get to the polling station.
And they showed up without anything under. Mm-hmm. They could have left their boxers on.
I don't think boxers were a thing.
Didn't they have like under things?
They had undergarments. Maybe they had them on, but it said they were in the buff.
That's disgusting. I feel violated.
I also wasn't sure if Warren Wirt, Ruben, and John C. Decided it, or there's no. It didn't say who actually started it. Those were 3 real names of the participants. It could have been a collective decision for everyone to do it.
I just kept thinking John Cena when you kept saying John C. So I was like, he might have been making this up.
Nope, it was real.
Oh my gosh, that's gross. But good for them.
Good for them, yeah.
They just stand their ground.
They won their county.
Trek all the way there. People need to be like this today. We're so lazy anymore. We just hope somebody else comes to save us. And that's not happening, unfortunately.
I wanted to say the quote that Warren said to the other people, where even one vote could change the fate of their state, is actually a quote made by Diana Stersenik-Dean. And she's the executive director of Franklin County Historical Society. I just wanted to.
So you made some of this up.
I exaggerated.
Didn't we decide that this was not real?
I could add things for dramatic effect.
I don't know.
We don't know what he said to them, or if he said anything to get people to go. But his name popped up a lot, so I chose him to be the leader.
I don't know. I think our listeners need to write in.
No, it's okay.
Tell us if Kyle's allowed to add dramatic effect. What do you think I was going to guess?
I thought you'd get it right.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You have more faith in me than I do. That was hard.
It was. That's a good one.
Where did you hear about this?
This was actually our very first listener submission.
Hey! Who was it?
This was emailed to me by Henrietta Ducap.
Hi, Henrietta.
I hope I said your last name right. She's a historical fiction author, and she found this while researching her novel that is set during Bleeding, Kansas.
Ooh, what's it about?
It's during Bleeding, Kansas.
What's the novel about?
Henrietta's book is called The Murrison's Barn, Escaping Slavery in Bleeding, Kansas, from Hidden Shelf Publishing House. Murrison's Barn is geared toward middle grade readers, but Henrietta told me that adults have also enjoyed the book as well. So if you're interested in learning more about Bleeding, Kansas and being entertained, give Henrietta's book a read.
Ooh, sounds interesting.
Yeah, thank you, Henrietta.
Thanks for our first submission. Yay.
And it was something I had never heard about, so it was interesting to read and a fun episode to write.
Yeah, I wonder what made her write a whole book about this.
I don't know. Maybe she'll comment.
Maybe you guys should be author friends.
So what are your final thoughts, Sid?
That was crazy. Thanks for the submission, Henrietta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love that they were exposing themselves to everybody.
It only said the German woman was exposed, and she obviously didn't care because she fed them all.
Yeah, she probably had something to cover them up with.
Maybe, but it doesn't say.
I wonder what happened after dinner.
It's not that type of podcast.
But I am I'm proud of these guys for trekking all that way to go against slavery and
standing up for what they believe was right.
Yeah, standing up for what they believe is right. We need more people like that in the world.
We need more naked voters.
No. Go vote, but wear clothes while you're doing it. Well, I'm going to go take a nap.
You probably could. I'll give you a couple minutes before they wake up. It's another episode, though.
Yeah. We have
Episode
one
9.
more until we reach episode 10.
Almost double digits, everyone.
Yeah, go us.
Go us.
Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and follow us on Instagram at History Buffs or Bluffs Pod. We post a lot of funny things.
We do.
So please go follow us if you're listening.
We're so funny. If you know of any obscure or crazy events in history that you'd like to hear, you can email it to me like Henrietta did at historybuffsorbluffs@gmail.com.
Or if you have an idea of a wild, believable, but fake story, reach out as well, and Kyle may just write it.
Thanks for joining us again. Tune in next week for another episode and help Sid find out if it'll be a history buff
or bluff
in the buff.
No.
Have a good week.